So this video is made assuming all first world problems are all other world problems are solved. This is a first world problem about stuffing dog treats or dog toys with food. The big thing anymore these days is people use peanut butter. Peanut butter is a very popular thing to stuff dog toys with, especially your little food dispenser ones like your Kongs or your, the things like that. Peanut butter is very high in fat and sugar, and I would say a good majority of the dogs I see could do with quite a little bit less of it. So what I like to do is use dog food. This is a generic brand of pate dog food. It's been in the fridge for a day or so because I've already used it to stuff something else. But pate is really going to be the best one. If you use chunks and gravy, yeah, that's all well and good. You just have to make sure that it's going to work for your function. So something like this part where it's a little wider, there's no holes in it. I could put chunks and gravy food in here. Maybe not the ends though, because they have the holes and the gravy tends to fall out, and that just makes for kind of a poor day in the freezer when you have leaking gravy everywhere. So when I say, I tell people I use stuffed frozen pickles for my dog and they go out and get, the big stuffed dill pickles from the store. That doesn't really work because I don't know if dogs are really supposed to have big frozen dill pickles. This is a Star Mark pickle pocket. So this is what we use when I say frozen stuffed pickles, because I'm going to be putting food into the ridges, freezing it. Gives me about a good hour of movie time. And these are pretty much only used in the same vein as a fine alcoholic beverage is for adults. So if you like to come home, have a nice drink, maybe once or twice a week like I do, this is the equivalent to the dogs. So they don't get this as a pacifier. It's not an enrichment or entertainment toy. It's just a nice, relaxing, we're just going to have a nice evening together kind of toy. So they maybe get this, again, about once or twice a week on the nights you don't have to be at work the next day. And how we do this, catheter tip syringes are your friend. So pate food fits very, very nicely through these guys. If you want to use your traditional lure locks, the hole's really tiny. I don't think it works quite as well. I like to use just, a knife or something to get it in to the barrel. You kind of stuff it full. I prefer the small cans of food. And again, assuming all other world problems are solved, we've cured cancer, all the homeless are living comfortably under a safe, clean, secure housing. Both sides of the political spectrum are singing Kumbaya together and agreeing on things to work with. So this is kind of a video assuming all other things and all other problems in the world have been solved. Small can works better unless you actually go through a big can of food. A Star Mark pickle pocket takes about 1.5 ounces of food, so you can fill it up all the way to 2 ounces. You'll pretty much always consistently have about a 1/2 ounce left, which actually works if you have a small dog, because then you will know how much they are eating and how much you need to remove from their other food calorie-wise. Because when your calorie needs are about 200 a day, it adds up really, really super quick when they are getting pickles on a more frequent basis than, once a week or so. So, let's make sure you got everything filled. You'll probably get maybe about 3 to 5 fills out of each syringe before the rubber starts to deteriorate, and you will have trouble pushing it through, or it expands and it just doesn't really work very well over time. But yeah, wash and recycle these as much as you can. So you want to make sure you're going like that, and then you literally just go to town. If you have a cake icing tool, you can use that too, although I've never used it, so I don't know how well it works. But that's pretty much all there is to it. It's not rocket surgery. So you have a nicely filled ridge. It's filled all the way to the bottom because, as you can see, they're pretty deep. And trying to shove food down there with a knife or a spoon or any other instrument doesn't really go well, because I did that for a long time and it was messy, Food went everywhere except in the ridge, and it just wasn't pretty. Catheter tip syringes are cheap. You can get them on Amazon. And like I said, you can recycle for quite a few times and get your money's worth out of them. So here we are with a pickle. That's pretty much almost all filled. And there you have it. And it's going to go in the freezer. And this is one that's been stuffed and in the freezer. And as you can tell, this food tends to be a little bit thicker. It holds its shape pretty well, so when it's in here you can pretty much set it up right to freeze and the food will stay in one place. Some pâté foods tend to be pretty thick and difficult to push through a syringe and pretty much need a knife to cut. And you can add a little bit of water to it to make it thin, but don't make it too thin. It kind of makes life difficult and everybody's sad about that. So we can use the rest of it in here. I do have, and there exist other toys, such as your Zogoflex type toys that have just a nice big hole in it. I stuffed this one with the chunks and gravy because I happen to have some. And as you can see, it works pretty well. And I know about how much is in here. So this is actually a meal for my small dog, and it works out very well. So we'll give that to him tonight. He's actually putting up quite the fuss because I'm working with canned food and I'm not sharing. How dare I? I'm a terrible example of a human being. Oh, and this syringe is nearing end of life. So we will stuff again. And what was left in here, what I started with tonight, was actually after stuffing one pickle. So to have 2 pickles stuffed and have some left over, all the rest will just go in here. And again, because you measure it with a syringe with measurements on it, you measure things with something that has a measurement. How smart am I? You know how much is in there, and again, if you have a tiny dog or a small dog or a dog on a diet, you can generally figure out how much is in there, how much you're feeding, and how much you need to remove from the regular meal. So about 2 ounces. And we're just going to make it really easy on ourselves and just do all that. And it just goes right in there. That's done. We'll get rid of that. You can put some in the small, put some in the big. Excellent. And that's just going to go in the freezer, and that will be an adjunct to a meal at some point too. So a toy like that, a toy like this. Let's see. If you are one of those who feeds recreational marrow bones, you can use those as well too. Let me see if I have some laying around. So I do. Eyes out. Thank you. So if you have one of these laying around that the dogs are gumming on, you can use it to, you know, get in the marrow and stuff that. You don't have to stuff it really super full because all you're doing is just getting some in there, and the marrow will soak up a lot of the juices and it'll provide a little bit more entertainment. But again, pop it in the freezer when you're done and spin the roulette of cracked teeth and wait for it to happen. But just another good piece of entertainment there. It'll keep your dog's teeth clean, but if you go in for a dental procedure, it's going to be for a cracked tooth, and I've accepted that risk, so there you have it. Anyway, again, first world problem. Everything else in the world has been solved. That's how you stuff, or at least I stuff my dog's toys. Give them a little something to do, and I think this one's going to go be somebody's dinner tonight. What do you say to that? Maybe not you. You get your own dinner.